Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. During this video, I'll be carrying on with having a look at the ChatGPT, which is an AI tool that generates ideas and different solutions for everyday problems or anything that you may have. This tool is really amazing. That is why I'm having a more in-depth look on the capabilities of this tool. So in the previous video, we had a look at how we can use this tool to generate interesting game ideas and how we can use this to not only generate ideas but actually make our game for us. The whole idea and the project, the framework of the project, but I didn't show you how you can actually make your game. So I have a very simple Unity scene here, which basically has a camera, a sphere which will work as our player now, and a plane. Neither of the player or any of these have any functionality as of yet, and I'll be using the ChatGPT to actually make my code for me to make the movement of the player. So I will ask the ChatGPT to make a script for me to make the player move using the W, A, S, and D buttons for our game. So let's do that right now. Make me a Unity script that moves the player using the WASD buttons. And this will actually generate the script for me, which I think is truly amazing. So after, let's say, a few seconds, it will start saying, hey, here is a basic Unity script, and you will see that it will generate this script. In like 10 seconds, you'll have a script that works ready for you to use. So obviously this is not perfect, and I'll be showing you the best way or a better way to actually use this. So if I were to copy this and paste it into a new script, which I think is called player movement. So create a script named player movement. I'll name this player movement. Open it up in my Visual Studio and actually paste what the ChatGPT has given me. And you may notice that it's actually using the translate for transform, which is not an ideal way of moving the player, but I will be showing you how you can make specific requests for the AI to make whatever you want, and so it will be more accurate and more closer to what you would expect. So I will just first attach the script onto here and run the program and see the actual script in action. So you'll see that I'm now able to move the sphere using the script that this AI made me in like 10 seconds, which I think is amazing. But again, as I said, the translate movement is not ideal, so I will prefer to use a rigid body. So instead, I will add this rigid body here and tell the ChatGPT to make a script instead. So I'll copy this and paste it onto the input here. And you can see that it actually gave you instructions on what you can do to actually put this into use. So for some reason, you can see that it actually says to attach a rigid body onto the game object, even though it doesn't use the rigid body. So it has an idea, but obviously this tool is not perfect. And so I'm going to now specify what it's going to need. And so, the rigid body component. So it will now generate a script that is going to be using the rigid body. So as you can see, it now added a rigid body. It will get the component and instead use the add force to move the player instead. So it will give you again the instructions of what you can do to put this to use and a small summary. So it actually explains to you what you can do, and I feel like this tool is amazing for learning new activities. It's like Google but better. So let me just put the new script onto here and put this to use. So it's now using the add force functionality of the rigid body. So you can see that it now moves using the add force. But let's say I don't like the add force because add force for me is not ideal for movement. So instead, I will specify for the program to use. So I will edit this and the velocity, let's say. So save and submit, and it will now instead find me a solution that is going to be using the velocity. Hopefully, I haven't actually tested this, but hopefully it will actually find a solution for us that instead of using the add force, it will use the velocity of the rigid body. It will be overriding the velocity to uh, move. So you can see that it says certainty, and it will actually write again the script for us. And let's see what it will come up with. So you can see that there is actually a copy code here, which I just realized that it exists. You can see that it adds more stuff onto the script. So it now adds the required component to exist. So the rigid body, which is nice. It's always nice to include that. And now it added a freeze rotation for some reason. So it's freezing the rotation and then adding a fixed update, which will again get the input of the player. And now it's taking a little longer than it did before, so I'm not sure why that is. Might be due to having a more specific request. So you can see that it actually fulfilled my request. It changed the above code that I had, which I just realized it doesn't exist anymore because I edited it, and it's now using the velocity instead of the add force. So here was our previous code, and now I'll just replace it, and you can see that the only difference is that it's using the velocity. So I will save that, go back and test it one last time. So this is how you can utilize this to make your life easier and don't have to write every code yourself. And the best advice that I can give you is be more specific on what you're trying to do, and that's the main advice that I will give to you. So you can see that it will have a very generic answer initially, but if you give more and more specific requests, it will actually fulfill them as well. So be specific when you are using this tool. And yeah, if you haven't checked this tool out, I really highly recommend using this. You can see that it gives explanations, it gives you step-by-step things to do, which I think is extraordinary. So check it out. I will be including a link onto this in the description of the video. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and goodbye.